Are you hungry for more content from Thinking in English? Unlock a world of knowledge with my exclusive bonus episodes. Become a patron today and gain access to fascinating bonus episodes that delve into a variety of engaging topics. From personal stories about my language learning journey to advanced vocabulary and grammar lessons. There are currently over 40 bonus episodes available to listen to right now. Feed your curiosity and expand your English skills. Don't miss out. Visit my Patreon page now to subscribe and enjoy the feast of bonus episodes. I'm currently offering 7-day free trials if you join right now. Click the link in the description or go to patreon.com/thinkinginenglish to join now. Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level English learners. Who was the most powerful woman in history? Was it the only female emperor of China? A female Egyptian Pharaoh who built great temples? Or the Iron Lady whose economic policies are still influential today? Let's discuss this on today's episode of Thinking in English. You can find the full transcript of today's episode for free over on the Thinking in English blog. The link is in the description. Check out my YouTube channel and my Instagram page for more great content. Links also in the description. Leave a like, rating or review wherever you are listening right now. Join my conversation club to improve your English. And here is today's vocabulary list. As always, the written vocabulary list is available in the description of the podcast and also on my blog, thinkinginenglish.blog. Diffuse. Diffuse. Spread out and not directed in one place, as in the company has become large and diffuse. To relegate. To relegate. To put someone or something into a lower or less important rank or position. As in, she resigned when she was relegated to a desk job. Trappings. Trappings. All of the things that are part of or typical of a particular job, situation or event. As in, he enjoyed the trappings of power, such as chauffeur-driven cars and bodyguards. To seize. To seize. To take using sudden force. For example, political instability helped the army to seize power. To solidify. To solidify. To become or make something become certain. As in, he solidified his commitment to the treaty, giving a forceful speech in favour of it. Feeble. Feeble. Weak and without energy, strength or power. As in, he was a feeble, helpless old man. Manoeuvring. Manoeuvring. The action of cleverly planning something to get an advantage. For instance, the directors managed to secure a good deal for the company with a bit of subtle manoeuvring. Sweeping. Sweeping. Affecting many things or people, or large. As in, we need to make sweeping cuts to our budget. Before we can discuss who was the most powerful woman in history, I think we need to take a second to think about the question, what is power? Power is a complex concept that can take various forms depending on the context and the resources available. The different forms of power include political power, economic power, social power, military power, technological power, knowledge power, and physical power. These forms of power are not mutually exclusive, and different forms of power can overlap and reinforce each other. For example, a wealthy individual may have economic power, but they may also use their social and political influence to maintain and expand their economic power. Understanding the different forms of power and how they interact can provide valuable insight into the dynamics of power and the influence in different contexts. It is essential to recognize that different forms of power can be used by different individuals or groups, and the balance of power can shift over time, depending on various factors such as social, economical, and political changes. Throughout history, power structures have differed significantly. In ancient times, power was concentrated in the hands of rulers and elites, who exercised their authority through force, religion, and tradition. In feudal societies, power was distributed among a hierarchy of noble people, with the king and queen at the top. In modern democracies, power is more diffuse, with elected officials, interest groups, and civil society organizations all competing for influence and control. However, regardless of the historical context, women have faced significant challenges in attaining power. Women have often been excluded from positions of authority and leadership, and their contributions to society have been undervalued and ignored. Women's lack of access to education, property rights, and legal protections has also hindered their ability to attain power and influence. In many societies, women were relegated to roles as wives, mothers, and caregivers, with limited opportunities for public participation or political representation. Even in societies where women had greater access to education and economic opportunities, they often faced gendered stereotypes and discrimination that limited their ability to rise to positions of power. Despite these challenges, women throughout history have sought to wield power and influence in various ways. Some have done so through behind-the-scenes manoeuvring, using their influence through personal connections and informal networks. Others have challenged gender norms and conventions, pushing for greater gender equality and advocating for women's rights. Now, I want to introduce you to a few of the most powerful women in history. These women led empires, waged wars, and held massive political and financial power. While this list isn't definitive or extensive, it includes 5 of the most powerful women in history, from different regions and at different time periods. Hatshepsut. I think a great place to start is with the queens and pharaohs of ancient Egypt. The Egyptian empire was powerful, influential, and long-lasting. I'm sure you all have heard of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Ptolemaic Egypt, who was known for her intelligence and role in improving Egypt's economy. And you may also have heard of Nefertiti, an Egyptian queen who ruled alongside her husband. While the exact extent of her power is often debated, Nefertiti is one of the most iconic female leaders in ancient history, who reshaped Egypt's religious practices and was depicted as riding chariots and slaughtering prisoners in carvings. However, I think there is another candidate for the most powerful female leader from ancient Egypt, Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled from 1478 to 1458 BCE. She is widely recognized as one of the most powerful women in history due to her successful reign and significant accomplishments. Born to the pharaoh Thutmose I and his queen, Hatshepsut was the only surviving child of the royal couple. Hatshepsut is known for her ambitious building projects, including the construction of many temples and monuments throughout Egypt. One of her most famous projects was the construction of her mortuary temple at Deir al-Bahri, which still stands today and is considered one of the most impressive structures of the ancient world. Another famous story about Hatshepsut involves her rise to power. When her husband and half-brother Thutmose II died, her stepson Thutmose III was too young to rule. In a bold move, Hatshepsut declared herself pharaoh and took on all the trappings of the position, including dressing like a man and wearing a false beard. Hatshepsut's reign was marked by peace and prosperity, and she is credited with expanding trade and improving the economy. She also implemented many successful building projects and commissioned the famous expedition to Punt, which brought back exotic goods from modern-day Somalia. Despite her many accomplishments, Hatshepsut's legacy was largely erased after her death. Her stepson, Thutmose III, who had become an adult and taken the throne, erased her name from many monuments and attempted to remove her from history altogether. Despite this, Hatshepsut's achievements and legacy have endured. She is remembered as a powerful and capable leader who defied gender norms and achieved great success during her reign. Empress Wu Zetian. While men have largely dominated the powerful roles in Chinese history, there are a few famous instances of influential women taking positions of authority. One example is the Empress Dowager Cixi, who dominated China's Qing dynasty in the late 1800s. She ruled in place of her young son and nephew, ruthlessly killing or dispatching any threats to her power. But today, I want to focus on a woman who actually became Emperor of China, the Empress Wu Zetian. Empress Wu Zetian, also known as Wu Zhao, was the only female emperor in the history of China. She ruled from 690 to 705 AD during the Tang dynasty, and is often considered one of the most powerful and controversial figures in Chinese history. Born into a wealthy family, Wu entered the imperial court at a young age as a concubine of Emperor Taizong. She rose quickly through the ranks and became a trusted advisor to the emperor's son, Gaozong. After Taizong's death, when Gaozong ascended the throne, Wu became his empress, but her ambitions did not stop there. After Gaozong became ill, Wu began to seize more power, eventually taking the throne for herself and becoming China's first and only female emperor. One of the most famous stories about Wu involves her alleged murder of her own infant daughter. According to legend, Wu was determined to gain the favour of Emperor Taizong and sacrificed her own child in order to demonstrate her loyalty. While the truth of this story is unclear, it speaks to the ruthless reputation that Wu developed during her reign. Another famous anecdote involves Wu's decision to replace the traditional Chinese bureaucracy with a system of merit-based exams. This move helped to streamline government administration and reduce corruption, but it also solidified Wu's own power by allowing her to select officials who were loyal to her. Wu's power and influence extended far beyond her own country. During her reign, China became a major military and economic power, with Wu's policies helping to stabilize the country after years of unrest. Wu was also a patron of the arts, supporting many famous poets and writers of the time. Empress Wu Zetian is considered one of the most powerful women in history due to her exceptional leadership skills, political savvy, and ability to maintain control over her own destiny. Despite facing numerous challenges and controversies, she was able to guide China to a period of stability and prosperity, and her legacy continues to be felt to this day. Elizabeth I. When talking about powerful women, I think we have to include a British monarch, and not just because I'm British. While the UK has had many powerful female leaders, including the warrior queen Boudica, who led an uprising against the Romans, the long-reigning Queen Victoria, who presided over the largest empire in history, and the recently deceased Elizabeth II, today I'm going to focus on Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I, also known as the Virgin Queen, was the Queen of England and Ireland from 1558 until her death in 1603. She was the daughter of Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn, and was born on September 7, 1533. Elizabeth was the last monarch of the Tudor dynasty, and is often considered one of the greatest monarchs in English history. Despite the challenges she faced during her reign, Elizabeth was known for her strong leadership and intelligence. She was a skilled politician and was able to navigate the complicated political landscape of her time with relative ease. One of her most famous anecdotes is the speech she gave at Tilbury in 1588, where she addressed her troops as they prepared for the Spanish Armada. Elizabeth famously declared, "I know I have the body but of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too." Throughout her reign, Elizabeth was courted by many suitors, both from England and abroad. However, she never married, citing her devotion to her country as her reason for remaining single. Her refusal to marry was a bold move in a time when a woman's worth was often measured by her marital status, but it allowed Elizabeth to remain in complete control of her own destiny. Elizabeth's power and influence extended far beyond England. During her reign, England became a major naval power and began to establish itself as a world leader in trade and commerce. Elizabeth was also a patron of the arts, supporting many famous writers and playwrights of the time, including William Shakespeare. Overall, Elizabeth I is considered one of the most powerful women in history due to her exceptional leadership skills, political savvy, and ability to maintain control over her own destiny. Despite facing numerous challenges, she was able to guide England to a period of stability and prosperity, and her legacy continues to be felt to this day. Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great was the Empress of Russia from 1762 to 1796, and is widely considered one of the most powerful and successful female rulers in history. Born as Sophia Augusta Frederica in Prussia, she later converted to Orthodox Christianity and took the name Catherine upon her marriage to the future Tsar Peter III. Catherine is famous for her strong leadership and many reforms that modernized Russia. She promoted education, art, and culture, and implemented new laws that improved the lives of her subjects. She also expanded the territory of the Russian Empire, adding Crimea and much of what is now Ukraine to its border. She waged wars and engaged in political maneuvering in order to gain control over those territories, which were previously under the control of the Ottoman Empire or the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. One of the most famous anecdotes about Catherine involves her adventurous spirit. She was known for her love of travel and exploration, and went on many long and arduous journeys throughout her reign. One of her most memorable trips was a tour of the southern Ukraine, during which she personally led an expedition to explore the newly conquered region. Another famous story about Catherine involves her love of art and culture. She was a patron of many famous artists and writers of her time, including Voltaire, Diderot, and Mozart. Catherine was also an avid collector of art and supported the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, which is now one of the largest and most important art museums in the world. Catherine's power and influence extended far beyond Russia. She played a significant role in European diplomacy and was known for her intelligence and political acumen. She also worked to improve the lives of her subjects, implementing new laws that protected the rights of women and peasants. Overall, Catherine the Great is considered one of the most powerful women in history due to her exceptional leadership skills, political savvy, and enduring legacy. Her reforms and achievements helped to modernize Russia and establish it as a major player on the world stage. Her legacy continues to be felt to this day, both in Russia and around the world. Margaret Thatcher. So far, the women I've mentioned in this episode have been powerful due to their roles as queens, empresses, and monarchs. I'd like to end the episode by talking about a politician, a woman who achieved great power not through birth or through marriage, but by being elected as leader. There are a few possible candidates. Indira Gandhi served 4 terms as Prime Minister of India. She was controversial and powerful, winning a war against Pakistan that led to the foundation of Bangladesh. Angela Merkel was Chancellor of Germany for 16 years helping to shape the EU and becoming one of the most influential European leaders of the 21st century. And then there is also Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher was a British politician who served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1979 to 1990. She was the first woman to hold this position and is widely considered one of the most powerful women in history. Born in 1925 in Grantham, England, Thatcher grew up in a conservative family and attended Oxford University, where she studied chemistry. After a brief period as a research chemist, she decided to pursue a career in politics and was first elected to Parliament in 1959. Thatcher's time as Prime Minister was marked by sweeping reforms and a strong stance on foreign policy. She was known for her conservative economic policies and her close relationship with US President Ronald Reagan. One famous anecdote involves Thatcher's nickname, the Iron Lady, which was given to her by the Soviet Union's press in response to her tough stance against communism. Another famous story involves Thatcher's role in the Falklands War. In 1982, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, a British territory in the South Atlantic. Thatcher responded by sending a task force to retake the islands, which were eventually returned to British control. Thatcher's decisive leadership during the conflict earned her widespread praise and cemented her reputation as a strong and capable leader. Thatcher's legacy is still felt today, both in the UK and around the world. Her economic policies, known as Thatcherism, continue to influence conservative politicians, and her leadership during the Falklands War is still celebrated in Britain. She was a trailblazer for women in politics, and her impact on the world stage cannot be overstated. Margaret Thatcher was definitely one of the most powerful women in history. So here is today's final thought. Power is a complicated thing. It can come in many forms and changes characteristics throughout history. Who was the most powerful woman in history? I don't think that can be accurately answered. But definitely the women I have mentioned today would be considered among the most powerful in all of history. But can you think of another powerful woman from history? Maybe someone from your country? And who is the most powerful woman alive today? Who do you think? Let me know by leaving your answer on Spotify. You can leave comments on Spotify now. On Instagram, you can send me a message. Or of course on the Thinking in English blog and on this transcript. There's a comment section at the bottom where you can share your ideas and thoughts. So please do let me know who you think is the most powerful woman alive today. I always end each episode by asking a question and asking you to leave a comment, because I want you to practice putting your thoughts together in English by leaving a comment on Spotify or on the blog or on Instagram. Right? Practice writing. Practice writing about what you've just listened to and expressing your own opinion in English. If you want to practice and improve your English, the best way to do it is through the Thinking in English Conversation Club. At the moment, we have conversation clubs running 6 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12, 6 and 9 p.m. UK time. Be careful, the UK has just changed time zone, like all of Europe. We are now in summertime, so it might be slightly different in your country. But it's 12, 6 and 9 p.m. in the UK. We have a different topic every week. We prepare questions, vocabulary lists, example answers. We break everyone up into small groups of 3 or 4 people, and then we let you talk for as long as you want, usually an hour, and discuss these different topics with Thinking in English listeners from around the world. We have members from Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia and Korea, China as well. We have members from India and Kazakhstan and Russia, Ukraine, from Estonia, from Finland, from Sweden, from Norway, from Germany, France, most of Europe, Spain, Italy, and then Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica, the USA, Canada. We have members from all over the world. So come on, join the conversation club, practice speaking in English every week as often as possible. And there's other benefits too. Study groups happening all the time. Access to our Discord server and chat rooms. Bonus episodes. Last week I released a bonus episode on the ship of Theseus. So if you want to listen to that, join the conversation club and join my Patreon. You can by clicking the link in the description. Also leave a like, a review and a rating if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or YouTube even. And yeah, I guess that's it for today. Thank you all for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.